Hello makers and welcome to the first home edition of our maker videos. So yeah, been tough times. You can see beard is growing, hair is growing. Yeah, well, okay, it was growing before. But anyways, since we are all in lockdown, I got a project to make life at home a bit more joyful with a Raspberry Pi media server. This is how it looks like when everything is assembled. This is quite amazing because you can stream any media you got, like pictures, movies, whatever, to your devices, like a smart TV, your phone, your computer, whatever you want to watch. Everything is connected to this server. And I'll show you how we made this happen. Number one was to get all the components sourced. All right, guys, this package just arrived, and what do we got? In here is a Raspberry Pi 4 with 4 GB RAM. This is going to be the core of our media server. And then we have a few other items that will help to make this project happen. Just an SD card. We got like a cooling fan and heat sinks. So just stay tuned and see what we're gonna make out of it. Now let's have a look how I was planning this thing in Fusion 360 and how everything comes together virtually and then later in reality. We're in Fusion 360 and this is the piece. You can see everything, how it's assembled. So where do we start coming up with a model like this? So let me just switch off all the components. Here we got a hard disk. That's the model I chose, like a 4 terabyte, 2.5 HDD. Already comes in its own enclosure. You can also go, of course, for just the laptop hard disk without any enclosure and get a SATA adapter. Then here, this is something I found online, a model of the Raspberry Pi 4, exactly the same one that we have here and that we're using in our media server. I ordered the power supply, it's this item here, because it has like 5 volts, 5 ampere, that's what, or a little bit more ampere than the Raspberry Pi actually needs, but that should definitely do the job. And then like I often forget when I'm planning their cables. So we need all the plugs because they also have to fit somewhere. So I just modeled them quickly, like roughly, and put them into place where they belong. I've added a second hard disk because maybe I want to build a RAID system at some point later, and oops, okay, that plug didn't go in the right place. So then we need something to switch it on and off. That's this part here. We need something to cool it. That would be a fan. So that comes here right in front of the Raspberry Pi. Then we want to connect it with an, I would say like the standard cable for computers or anything, to the power source. That would be the IEC socket. So, and I forgot the stainless steel metal push button. I think that's pretty cool because we can run a script that will automatically shut down the Raspberry Pi. So because you don't want to just cut it from the power source, that might corrupt the data on the Raspberry Pi. So like having all this in place, I started modeling out the casing and how it all fits together, how it's all going to be held. Of course, like with limited resources right now, but a 3D printer at home, we can make this happen. And so what I decided was like, let's give it a frame, like basically 4 rails. And in this rails, you can just clip different mounts. So that would be this one here. And these mounts, they're holding our components and they clip to the rails. So, and that's a pretty modular system. So it means like using this technique, you can always add or modify components or build another bracket that easily fits in and you don't have to throw the entire casing. So I think that's pretty cool. And if you want it printed yourself, just hit me up and we can maybe send you the files. So yeah, that backplate makes it a bit more pretty and also holds it together. That's where the bolts come in at the end. So that's pretty much how we get everything together. The next step in this one is to basically export all the components, and we use 3D Works for it. That's like the software that came with the 3D printer. Actually works quite fine, and here you can see the front. A ton of 3D printed parts to put it all together. This would be this. So all the prints came out pretty nice, and I'm really excited to assemble everything and see if it's still working. I mean, of course, I made a test run. See the picture here. Looks a bit rough, but yeah. I mean, you need to test your setup before you put it all together. Like, just hack it together. Be careful. Don't touch any of the, I would say, more dangerous components, like the 220 volts. But yeah, it worked quite well. So here we go. This is our beautiful Raspberry Pi Model 4B. This entire thing is a computer, basically. It has all the connections here, USB ports, this USB 3, USB 2, Ethernet. There is a Wi-Fi on board. It supports 2 4K HDMI ports. I got a 4 terabyte hard disk, portable, so it's already in a case, but for this project, you could also use just one from a laptop or an old one that you have at home and you don't need anymore. This is something I got locally because I couldn't find anything online like a small one. You could also use one of those. This one I found later on. Super important, you need 5 volt to power the Raspberry Pi, power it up, and at least 3 ampere. So this has a bit more ampere, but that doesn't matter. I mean, the more the merrier, but yeah, in this case, I mean, yeah, we don't want to overdo it. This one comes actually also quite cheap, just a little bit bulky, but I designed a nice case that you'll see later, and it just fits perfectly in it. Just to connect everything, cables needed, a switch, screws, and oh yeah, this is the power on off button. Well, let's just get started. So this is it. I mean, yeah, of course with this camera you can't see too much, but it all fits together and we're happy. Now next thing is to try it out and enjoy. Your Raspberry Pi needs an operating system, and you can just go to the website and download the latest Linux version, which is called Raspberry for the Raspberry Pi, and you need to image it on an SD card that you can insert in your Raspberry Pi. Everything is explained very well here, how to do it. I think you shouldn't have any trouble. So once you download it, you launch their software, which is here, and you go right on your SD card, insert it in the Raspberry Pi, and you should be ready to boot. What you can see is that I already installed Open Media Vault. Open Media Vault is a server software, so it looks quite complicated, and to be honest, it took me also a while to figure it out. But most important is that you can install your disks here, so you can see your storage. Now here we go, we can see our hard drive. That's where we can store all our data. On that hard disk now you can create different file systems. This one has already a few folders installed that I did earlier for the testing. You can see them here in the shared folders. This is where you can upload like your movies, even music, and even better, also a time machine backup. A little bit more difficult it gets with the Open Media Vault Extra, so you need to install a Docker and a Portainer. So that's what is actually communicating then later with your software in Plex. I did that and followed the instructions on a blog. I will share the address and the YouTube video to that one later. But what happens when we go to Plex TV now is you find your Raspberry Pi server in Plex. That doesn't work through their regular interface. It's much easier just going this way to 192.168.8.108. So remember, that's our address. You want to channel it through 32,400 and /web/index.html. This is where you add your server. So wait, we need to already logged in, but here is our username. So now we're home, and now here we should see our server is popping up. I had to install already a few folders, but Plex will guide you through it. And just I was throwing a few movies in that folder earlier. You can do that just through your network folders from your system. But yeah, there's everything, and this is where you can get started watching, in my case, maybe The Matrix today. Let's see. Well, seems to work. I can open it on my smart TV. I can open it on my phone. Everything's fine. Awesome. It's finally working. Yeah, it took also a while to figure it out. And I get it's a bit complicated for people who haven't worked with any kind of server or whatnot. Even for me, big learning curve. But I think with all the instructions, with all the tutorials from online, it's doable, and I think you can do it yourself. But also we'll be offering classes, maker classes very soon from Maker Studio, or online sessions even, and we can help you get your server set up yourself at your home and enjoy your movies on every device you have there connected to your server. Well, that's it for today, and don't be bored. Make something.